Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Right now, I'm going to be giving an introduction of one of the modules that we discussed, which was actually Muslim history. And Muslim history is one of those areas of Islamic studies that unfortunately many Muslims have no idea how to approach. And one of the things I started realizing as I was putting this module together is the average Muslim American's understanding of Muslim history goes something like this. They know a little bit about the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when I mean a little bit, I mean they know just about where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, approximately what year that was, a little bit about the Meccan period, they know that there was such thing as a Meccan and a Madani period, that Hijrah took place. They know a little bit about the 4 major battles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They can maybe name for me like 5 or 6 companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, maybe a few things about his life, and of course a lot of teachings from it. And then they can tell me about the conquering of Mecca and when the Prophet ﷺ passed away. And I'm really happy that Muslims can generally give me an outline of the Prophet's life. We need to continue that and expand that language. But then when I ask them what happened after that, typically a Muslim student is able to give me 4 khalifas. They're able to say Abu Bakr, Umar radiyallahu anhu, Ali radiyallahu anhu, and Uthman radiyallahu anhu. Of course, Uthman came before Ali radiyallahu anhu. But they're able to give me the 4 Khulafa al-Rashidin, as we call them, the righteous Khalifas. But even if I was to press them, they know that the first 2 were great, and then something happened with the 3rd one, and the 4th one they have no idea about. And then when I keep asking them, so tell me more about Muslim history. After that, it stops at Muslims had a golden age in Spain. And that's it. If I push them any more, they might know some cultural history, some history of like Muslims in India, Muslims in Spain, Muslims in Morocco, Muslims in Libya, Muslims in Syria, wherever their country is from, they're able to give me a little bit, but they can't connect any of the dots together. So when I ask them questions like, why is Indonesia the biggest Muslim country on earth? They have no answer to that. Why is it that the Muslims had a golden age in Spain? No answer to that question. And when someone, specifically in college, starts questioning them about why is it that there were at one point 17 different people who claimed to be Khalifa at the same time, Muslims don't have any idea how to answer that. And so the point of the first module is to start to normalize the idea that we understand where our tradition comes from. From the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to we go as far as about World War I. What was happening within the Muslim community? What were the major political trends that were taking place? What were the major social trends that were taking place? What were the major theological discussions, the spiritual discussions that were happening as a society as Muslims went from about 630 Common Era to about 1920 Common Era, and understanding that, not so that we can name every single person who was around, but no, we have a general idea of what happened in Muslim life. So we go literally, if we were to divide this up into 4 major categories, we start off with the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the Umayyads. So the 4 Khulafa al-Rashidin, and then the Umayyad period. We talk from there to about the Abbasid period and the beginning of things like madahib forming or cultures of learning starting to form. The Abbasid period, which goes from about 750 till about 1200. We talk about major issues that the Muslim communities face, such as the Crusader invasions in the 11th century, to the Mongols invading twice in the 13th century and the 15th century. These giant populations affecting the Muslim world. And then we go into the 3rd major segment, or the 4th major segment, which is this idea of the Ottomans and the Mamluks, of where we get actually a lot of the inheritance of Islam today comes from these 2 very big civilizations of Islam. What is this idea of like, when did the Sunni community and the Shi'i community become politically relevant, become politically separate? We start getting into some of these conversations so that we can raise the bar of what talking about Muslim history really looks like. That it doesn't just have to be these questions that we have no answers for, that it actually is we have a general understanding of where our history comes from. Just like the average American growing up can tell you a little bit about the American Revolution. or American history. They might not be able to tell you everything, but by the time they're about in 8th grade, 9th grade, they have to have an understanding of what led to the American Revolution, what was the Civil War, what was World War I about, what was World War II about, because that's important in being a confident American. The same way for a Muslim growing up, if they want to be a confident Muslim, understanding their place in the world, they need to understand Muslim history, what allowed them to be where they are today. And that's really what this module tries to encapsulate in a nutshell.